Welcome to VibeSense. All right, today we are diving into a real diplomatic puzzle. It's at the heart of any potential peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. You see, Moscow keeps saying it's ready to negotiate. But, and this is a big but, they're also claiming the one person they would need to negotiate with is illegitimate. So what's really going on here? Right. So this is the central contradiction we're talking about. For months now, Russian officials have been putting out two messages that just don't seem to add up. On one hand, they say they're open to a diplomatic solution, but on the other, they've set up this huge roadblock by questioning the very legitimacy of Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky. And this just lays it out, plain and simple. Over here, the official stance is, yep, we are ready for talks. But then you have this condition that basically grinds everything to a halt. This claim that President Zelensky doesn't have the legal authority to even sign a peace deal. It turns the whole idea of negotiation into a kind of maze, doesn't it? So where does this whole illegitimacy argument actually come from? To really get it, we need to take a look at the calendar and then at Ukraine's constitution, which is operating under the incredible stress of a full-scale war. Okay, so to understand Russia's claim, you really have to look at this specific timeline. Zelensky was elected way back in 2019 for a 5-year term. Now, in any normal world, there would have been an election in March 2024, and his first term would have officially ended on May 20th. But, as we all know, circumstances have been anything but normal. And that brings us to the absolute key to this whole thing, martial law. Ever since the full-scale invasion began, Ukraine has been under martial law. And according to its own constitution, this state of emergency explicitly puts national elections on hold. This one legal rule is really at the heart of the entire disagreement. Okay, so here's where the two sides just completely diverge. It's night and day. Russia's argument? It's super literal. They're basically saying, hey, look at the calendar. May 20th came and went, so his term is over. Period. And their bottom line is that any deal he signs now would be totally void. But on the other side, you've got Ukraine and its Western partners saying, whoa, not so fast. Their point is that the Constitution was written for exactly this kind of crisis. It lawfully extends the president's power to make sure the government keeps running until it's safe to hold elections again. So, given that the legal argument is so heavily contested and pretty much rejected by Ukraine and its allies, it makes you ask a bigger question. Is this really about constitutional law? Or is this whole illegitimacy claim just a strategic tool for something else entirely? And make no mistake, this isn't some new talking point. This quote from Vladimir Putin himself shows that this narrative was established right from the top, just as Zelensky's original term was supposed to be ending. It was very deliberately framed as a legal obstacle, which really set the stage for how it would be used diplomatically. So its first function is just pure diplomatic leverage. I mean, think about it. By creating this procedural problem, Russia gets to control the whole conversation about high-level talks. It lets them say to the world, oh yeah, we're ready for peace, while making absolutely sure a summit with Zelensky just can't happen. It's like being a gatekeeper. They get to decide who they'll even recognize as a valid partner at the table. The second function? Well, that's information warfare. The goal here is to muddy the waters, right? To get that little question of legitimacy into news reports and to create political pressure inside Kyiv. In fact, analysts at the Institute for the Study of War have pointed to this as part of a classic Russian strategy that they call reflexive control. So what on earth is reflexive control? Well, it's a tactic where you feed your opponent specific information, in this case, doubts about their own leader's legitimacy, and you hope it makes them hesitate or second-guess themselves, or maybe even take actions that end up helping you. It's all about shaping the informational battlefield to your advantage. And if you look at this timeline, you can see just how deliberate and consistent this messaging has been. It started with Putin's first public statement back in May 2024, and it's been repeated over and over again through 2025. This isn't just a series of random comments. It's a sustained, calculated campaign. Okay, so we've looked at the argument and the strategy behind it. But what does all of this actually mean in the real world? What's the concrete impact of this narrative on any real chance for peace? Well, the impact is a deep, frustrating diplomatic stalemate. First off, it totally blocks any direct leader-to-leader meetings, which are often what you need for a major breakthrough. Second, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's happening alongside Russia's other huge demands, like territorial concessions, which are complete non-starters for Kyiv. And finally, all this contradiction just fuels massive skepticism about whether Moscow is even genuinely interested in a negotiated peace at all. So if we're sort of stuck in this stalemate, what are the signs we should be looking for? What could signal a real change in direction? How can we tell if the gears of diplomacy might actually finally start to turn?
Here's three really key things to keep an eye on. First, just listen to the language. If Russia suddenly stops talking about illegitimacy, that is a huge signal that the claim was always just a tool. Second, watch the preconditions. If they start showing a willingness to talk without demanding territory first, that would be a massive shift. And third, watch for any weird moves to recognize some other Ukrainian figure. That would be a clear sign they're trying to sidestep Zelensky entirely.
And all of this leaves us with the final and most crucial question. Is this claim a true, non-negotiable red line for Russia? Or is it simply a diplomatic bargaining chip, something created specifically to be traded away when the time is right? The answer to that question really will tell us everything about the true prospects for peace. Thanks for watching VibeSense.